Biden endorsed Kamala Harris on his way out. Then Hillary endorsed Kamala Harris, obviously, because she's a woman. But Barack didn't. Here he is, quote, "We will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges." Who do you think is going to run that process? The convention's in Chicago. Kamala might have a big head start on the nomination, but she's not a sure thing.
In the high-stakes world of cable news, controversy is often currency. Yet for Jesse Waters, Fox News' provocative primetime host, his latest incendiary comments about Vice President Kamala Harris may have pushed the envelope too far. Known for his confrontational style and history of contentious remarks, Waters has long walked a tightrope between ratings gold and potential career suicide. As the backlash intensified, questions arise about whether this incident will be the final straw for Fox News.
Where's Kamala Harris? The VP mostly MIA since Afghanistan and never where she's supposed to be. The borders are never went to the border. She was appointed chair of the Space Council but never hosted a meeting. And the only jobs she created were child actors she hired to make herself look relatable. So do people even know Kamala Harris or what she's been up to?
The Kamala Harris controversy. Jesse Waters found himself again in the center of a firestorm. This time, his target was Vice President Kamala Harris, a figure who has long been in the crosshairs of conservative pundits. As Democrats rallied around Harris following President Joe Biden's withdrawal from the presidential race, Waters seized the moment to launch a critique that would soon reverberate across social media and news outlets alike. On his primetime Fox News show, Waters unleashed a verbal assault on Harris's candidacy, asserting she hadn't earned her shot at the presidency. Quote, "She didn't earn this. She inherited it. Americans aren't hot on heirs. They like self-made men and women." His words, carefully chosen yet inflammatory, suggested that Harris was merely inheriting the position rather than claiming it through merit. This sentiment, while not uncommon in conservative circles, struck a particularly raw nerve coming from Waters, a man whose own career has been dogged by accusations of privilege and controversy. The backlash was swift and severe. Critics from across the political spectrum pounced on Waters' comments, highlighting the irony of his stance, given his support for figures like Donald Trump, whose own claims of being self-made have been widely disputed. Social media platforms buzzed with outrage, with many pointing to Harris's long career in public service, from her time as California Attorney General to her role as a U.S. Senator and then Vice President. Waters' assertion that Americans prefer self-made candidates over heirs seemed to backfire spectacularly. It inadvertently opened a Pandora's box of discussions about privilege, race, and gender in American politics. Many saw his comments as thinly veiled racism and sexism, a continuation of the right-wing media's often hostile treatment of Harris since her ascension to the vice presidency. As the controversy unfolded, it became clear that Waters' remarks were more than just another fleeting moment of cable news drama. They tapped into deeper, more contentious debates about who gets to be considered qualified for the highest office in the land. For Harris supporters, this was yet another example of the unfair scrutiny and criticism she faces. For Waters and his defenders, it was a stand against what they perceived as political dynasties and backroom deals. The incident highlighted the increasingly blurred lines between news reporting and political activism in cable news, with Waters embodying the combative, opinion-driven style that has come to dominate prime-time slots. As the dust settled, many wondered whether this controversy would be the one to finally derail Waters' career, or if it would simply be another chapter in his long history of provocative statements. A history of controversies. Waters' ascent began in the early 2000s when he joined the production staff of The O'Reilly Factor. It was here that he honed his confrontational style, learning the art of ambush journalism under the tutelage of Bill O'Reilly. His segment, Waters' World, became a staple of the show, featuring man-on-the-street interviews that often veered into territory many considered offensive or exploitative. One of the early controversies that put him in the spotlight was his 2009 encounter with journalist Amanda Turkle. On assignment for The O'Reilly Factor, Waters and his cameraman followed Turkle for 2 hours as she drove to Winchester, Virginia for a vacation. The subsequent ambush interview, ostensibly about an article Turkle had written criticizing O'Reilly, was widely condemned as stalking and harassment. This incident set the tone for Waters' career, establishing him as a figure willing to push boundaries in pursuit of confrontational content. The controversy resurfaced years later at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where Waters found himself in a physical altercation with another journalist who demanded he apologize to Turkle. The scuffle, which involved Waters allegedly grabbing and throwing the journalist's phone, further cemented his reputation as a divisive figure in media circles. Perhaps the most infamous of his controversies came in 2016 with this Chinatown segment.
Am I supposed to bow to say hello?
你好，你好。
I like these watches. Are they hot? Do you like Donald Trump?
Yes, Hillary Clinton. Basically, it's the extension of Obama.
Who are you going to vote for?
Clinton wife.
Clinton's wife has a name. What is it?
Oh man, I forget it.
What do you think about Donald Trump?
I don't like it. He has a big mouth.
He can say what he wants. It doesn't really affect me.
Ostensibly a piece about Chinese-American voters' opinions on the presidential election, the segment devolved into a parade of racist stereotypes and mockery. Waters asked Chinese Americans if they knew karate, if he should bow before greeting them, and if their watches were stolen. The segment was interspersed with clips of Waters playing with nunchucks and getting a foot massage, all set to the tune of kung fu fighting. The backlash was immediate and severe. Politicians, journalists, and civil rights organizations condemned the segment as vile and racist. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio publicly denounced Waters, and the Asian American Journalists Association issued a scathing statement. Waters' response, characterized by many as a non-apology, only fueled the controversy further. He claimed the segment was meant to be tongue-in-cheek and light, seemingly oblivious to the harm caused by perpetuating these kinds of stereotypes. Just as the dust was settling on the Chinatown controversy, Waters found himself embroiled in another scandal. Shortly after joining The Five as a co-host, he made an on-air comment about Ivanka Trump that many interpreted as lewd and inappropriate. The remark, which seemed to have sexual connotations, led to Waters taking an abrupt vacation from the network. In 2022, Waters again made headlines with what became known as Tiregate. On an episode of The Five, he recounted a story of deflating a young female colleague's car tires in an attempt to get her to go out with him, despite being married at the time.
When I was trying to get Emma to date me, first thing I did, let the air out of her tires. She couldn't go anywhere. She needed a lift. I said, hey, you need a lift? She hopped right in the car.
Does she know this story?
No, she doesn't know this story.
Does she watch your show?
The story, which Waters later claimed was a joke, sparked outrage and discussions about workplace harassment and abuse of power. Throughout these controversies, Waters has managed to not only survive, but thrive at Fox News. His provocative style and willingness to court controversy have made him a favorite among the network's core audience. He's consistently framed his most offensive moments as jokes or misunderstandings, often portraying himself as a victim of oversensitivity or political correctness. Waters' ability to weather these storms speaks to the changing landscape of cable news, where provocation and controversy often translate to higher ratings. His promotion to host of Jesse Waters' Primetime in 2022, despite his checkered history, underscores Fox News' commitment to personalities who can generate buzz and maintain viewer engagement regardless of the ethical implications. This pattern of controversy, followed by career advancement, has become a hallmark of his career at Fox News. Each incident seems to follow a similar trajectory. Waters makes a provocative statement or produces a controversial segment, public outrage ensues, Waters offers a qualified apology or claims he was misunderstood, and then emerges relatively unscathed, often with a larger platform than before. Fox News' dilemma. As Jesse Waters once again finds himself the center of a media firestorm, Fox News faces a familiar yet increasingly complex dilemma. The network, long accustomed to weathering controversies surrounding its high-profile personalities, must now navigate the waters of public opinion, corporate responsibility, and ratings in an era of heightened scrutiny. The network's handling of past controversies provides a roadmap of sorts, from Bill O'Reilly's sexual harassment scandals to Tucker Carlson's inflammatory remarks on race and immigration. Fox News has often chosen to weather the storm, betting that viewer loyalty would outweigh any temporary backlash. Now it's time to hear from you. To what extent do you think media personalities like Waters shape political discourse in America? Let us know in the comments section below.